Coming out this evening, this afternoon. I know the sun was hot when we started, so like everybody took shelter over in the areas there and get something cool to drink. But I want to encourage everybody that is here to whatever you have learned from all of the speakers here tonight, this afternoon, to take home, take to your schools, talk to somebody else about it. Because our collective future could be at jeopardy. It is important for young people to understand their role, their importance in our nation. You can't hear? Sorry. It is important for everybody to participate. Young people have more advantage than us here. At least I know I talk for myself, Dong Hector, maybe not you because you're a teacher. But young people have the ability, with the press of a button, to share information, to mobilize, to say what they believe. And we've seen it, like Sadie was saying, on Facebook, on all the social medias, people are sharing information. And it is dangerous that very, very few younger people are out here. It is over maybe half of our population that is under the age of 17 to 35. And these are the people that we have to depend on. As activists, I'm all putting myself at risk. So is Dong Hector. I know Ms. Burgess, Will Mejia in the south, Dr. Espat, who couldn't be here in Belize City. And you know, at some point, the responsibility will fall on the shoulders of our young people. Because the future is yours. You are the present and you are the future. And it is important for you to go and register and vote and for you to educate yourself. Now, I don't want anybody to think that anybody up here is saying that Guatemala is the enemy. I know that I've heard it a lot on Facebook, and I think that Sadie was the one that mentioned again that her roots come from Guatemala. And we have thousands upon thousands of Guatemalans that we have welcomed here. Whether or not it's against the Constitution, they are here and they can vote. And majority of those people, like I think Mr. Ross mentioned, have told us that they are not willing to jeopardize Belize. They're not willing to risk our country. They came here looking for a better future for their children. And they found it. Much like our people were looking for a better future when they migrated to the United States and to England in the 1970s and the 1980s. So we have ties to Guatemala. We don't just share a border with Guatemala. We share values, family values. We share ambition. We share work. We share education. How many of Belizean students are presently in Guatemala getting higher education? How many Guatemalan students come over to Belize on a daily basis in our high schools and our primary schools to learn English? So we share a lot more. We share a brotherhood. And at least I was raised to not take my brother to court. I think that our leaders have failed us in diplomatic efforts. And I don't think we should give up diplomatic efforts. My degree is in international relations and diplomacy. Maybe that's why I'm biased to it. I believe that they have not done enough. They have shown weakness in their diplomatic efforts. They have bent over backwards and allowed too much from Guatemala. I served on the board of Friends for Conservation and Development for a few years. And I was shocked and I was angry when in 2009 and 2010, I had to be with a Guatemalan delegation of Caibiles to tour our facilities or military facilities. That to me was a slap in the face back then. That was a wake-up call to me to look closer to our leaders and where they were leading us. The tactics they're using is very dangerous. I met with some people from the United States, a delegation working close to government, and they told me that if we vote no to the ICJ, international doors would be closed to Belize. Now my thing was, we've gotten independence, which means that the United Nations have signed and said that our territorial integrity is intact. If not, how comes we've been fooled that we're independent? If those nations wanted to open those doors that they're talking about, it would have been opened by now. I think that they're leading us to an ambush in the ICJ. I mean no disrespect to Mr. Ross. He gave an excellent talk. But a lot of times, we try to let our brain lead us, and we focus on intellect. And I was telling one of my youths just the other day, I said, when it comes to you, listen to your brain or your heart, which one comes first? You know, and I said, when you're in your mother's womb, you go, mothers out here today, we go to take an ultrasound. The first thing we hear is that heartbeat. That heartbeat. Belize is our heart. Belize is our country. I do not think that for 1 minute I am going to even consider signing or voting a yes to go to the ICJ. I'm a business person. My grandparents migrated to Belize. On my mother's side, yes, from Guatemala. On my father's side, from Lebanon. But they migrated to Belize and they invested in Belize, and we are now Belizeans. I don't think that I will risk their life work, my properties, my business, my children's future in risking to go to a court. Because the judges that are in that court, our leaders are going cold-heartedly. They're looking at the documents. They're not looking at what we feel. They're not looking at how much the Belizean people are risking. They're looking at what their intellect is telling them. But we've been to 5 court cases that this administration had led us to. And they told us we were going to win. Remember what happened with Ashcraft? Where we're in right now? Where my children and your children will end up paying that bill because we have to pay the bill, let's face it. So when they have led us to all of these court cases and we have lost every single one of them, how dare they come to us to encourage us that we will win such a court case? They have not proven to me, with all the treaties and everything, Guatemala has broken every single one of them, and those international countries that are now telling us to go to the ICJ to solve it have not stepped in. In the Chiquibul, the incursions are that bad. When Sadie Erlington went to the United Nations a few years ago, and we had so much incursions that month, I was certain that that man was going to mention that. Because the origins of our Macal River, the origins of the water that feeds Flores Petén is up in those forests. So it's not just about how we feel and our properties and our material possessions that are at risk. It is our forest. It's our flora and fauna. It's our tourism industry. The backbone of the economy of Belize is what they're asking us to put at risk for Guatemala. Now those countries that are telling us that the doors will be closed if we don't vote yes, they should have stepped in by now. Then maybe we would have been encouraged to go to the ICJ. The young people of Belize need to step up. And although I see some of them are not sitting here, I had noticed that some people from Sacred Heart College were around, standing around. It is time that we take the bull by the horn. It is time that we realize that we are brothers and sisters and we unite. We need to put down the red and the blue flag and realize that there's one flag. There's a national Belizean flag. That's the only flag I want to see young people in Belize carrying with them. Politics has divided this nation. Politics is what has us here today, with families that are not eating, with women that are being abused. Over the summer, how many? 3 women a week we were burying. The gangs won't put down their guns in Belize City because we decided to pay them for a little while and then couldn't afford to continue. The country is in a mess, and it cannot bear on the shoulders of myself and Dom Hector and Mr. Ross and Ms. Burgess and the activists that have been in the forefront talking to you guys. It's enough, and you guys need to take up the challenge because we are growing old. We need to pass it on to you guys. So I plead, I encourage young people to get up, stand up, defend this country, register. Monday morning, I hope to see the Election and Boundaries Office pack up with young people from the ages of 18 to 35. And if you're 16 and 17 and you're almost 18, you need to start listening as well. Open your eyes and raise your voices. Belize needs to hear you. Our leaders need to hear you. We, the activists, we will continue leading you. But really, you need to take up the baton now, because Belize can possibly be no more after a few years.